All right, welcome back, everyone. Last week, we talked about ritual. Not as some empty repetition, not as dogma, but as a remembrance of flow. And if you remember, I said that ritual is what we use when we've forgotten who we truly are, when we need a structure to help us reconnect. This week, though, we're climbing one level deeper into this Taoist pyramid verse that we've been discussing. And we're talking about the next step, which is morality. And we call this the Wounded Alchemist phase. This is where most of us get stuck. This is where culture gets stuck. This is where religion gets stuck. And this is where the individual healer, the Wounded Alchemist, either evolves or collapses. There's a verse from the Tao Te Ching, and this verse is essentially the blueprint for the entire wounded healer's journey from our point of view. And it goes, when the Tao is lost, there is goodness. When goodness is lost, there is morality. When morality is lost, there is ritual. Ritual is the husk of true faith and the beginning of chaos. Now, usually people interpret this as Lao Tzu saying, ritual is bad, morality is bad, but that's a common misunderstanding. He wasn't laying out a list of sins. He was mapping levels of disconnection. He was describing what happens inside a human being when they lose their inner compass, and what happens inside a society when it forgets wisdom and starts clinging to ideology. And here's the part most people miss. This pyramid isn't just a downward fall, but it also is the ladder back up to the Tao. We fall from the Tao into ritual and confusion, but we climb back up through ritual, morality, and goodness, and finally back into the Tao. So it's a circuit, it's a cycle, a spiral. It's a map of our healing journey to becoming the wounded healer. So let's define morality the way a Taoist or an alchemist would. Morality is should and shouldn't, right and wrong, the impulse to control behavior, the fear of slipping into chaos, the desire to be seen as a good person, the need to belong, the attempt to regulate yourself through rules instead of inner wisdom. Psychologically, morality is what we cling to when we lose access to intuition. It's what happens when trauma blocks your natural desires, shame blocks your natural impulses, fear blocks your natural expression, and conditioning replaces curiosity. And suddenly, you're now living in a world inside your head, or in your head instead of your body. Yes. Morality becomes the armor we wear when we don't trust ourselves. And I don't say that as judgment. This is all part of the path. We all must go through this. We all must explore these steps along our journey to becoming the wounded healer, right? Every healer, every monk, every guru, every warrior, every human being spends time here. And that's a great gift. But it's also the stage where a lot of people get stuck. This is where we fall into the purity mindset, the I have to be perfect mindset, the I always must be good mindset, the I can't have that desire mindset. And this is ego just trying to self-regulate through force. But then there's another side of morality too. And this is the piece that people often forget. Morality is the first spark on our way back to the Tao, because underneath every moral rule is a value. Underneath every value is a desire. And underneath every desire is a piece of the soul trying to wake up. And if we follow morality inward instead of wearing it outward, it becomes medicine. And that's the beginning of the Wounded Alchemist phase, right? Learning to look inward and begin this inner healing journey through internal alchemy. But how does morality lead to ritual and chaos, right? Well, because everything that exists within also exists without, right? As within, so without, as above, so below. So if we zoom out and take a look at the world today, we really see why this teaching matters. I've been currently rereading Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. And for a long time, I was trying to figure out, is this an attack on the left or an attack on the right? You know, how do we get to where he is? What sign, or he thought we would end up? What sign should I be looking out for? But it wasn't about the left or the right. He was showing us what happens when a society loses its connection to the Tao, to inner truth, inner wisdom, and inner being. Because what fills that void? We get ideology, morality, dogma, rules, performative goodness, and collective identity. And we see this on both political extremes, right? On the far right, morality becomes purity, nationalism, rigid tradition, extreme conservatism. But then on the far left, morality becomes scientism, technocracy, engineered sexuality, and enforced social virtue. Different language, but the same psychological mechanism. When a society loses connection to actual wisdom, it clings to morality. And when morality becomes too rigid or too ideological, people stop believing in it. So they start performing it instead. That's what Lao Tzu means by ritual. Ritual is morality without soul, morality without inner truth, morality repeated out of fear of exclusion, or even morality aimed at other people in judgment. So what happens after ritual? Well, that's when we get our chaos, division, loss of meaning, exactly what we're living through right now in our current society. This is why Huxley said that Brave New World was a warning about both extremes. Neither side leads back to the Tao. Both sides live in a collapsed version of morality. So what's our turning point? Well, if we bring it back to the healing journey, our own personal journey, the Wounded Alchemist stage is where we take morality and flip it inward. Instead of using morality to judge ourselves, we use it to understand ourselves. Instead of using morality to police our behavior, we use it to discover our values. Instead of using morality to control our desires, we use it to listen to our desires. This is the phase where we begin to ask ourselves, why do I feel so strongly about this? What value am I defending? What am I afraid will happen if I break this rule? What am I afraid will, of desiring? Is this belief really mine? Did I inherit it? What does this reaction tell me about who I'm becoming? And when we do this, something powerful happens. Morality starts transforming into goodness, which is our next step, right? Morality is the rule. Goodness is the essence behind the rule. Morality is form. Goodness is the meaning underneath. When we reach goodness, the Tao begins to open up again. Our intuition wakes up. Our body starts telling the truth. Our choices get clearer. Our energy gets cleaner. Our actions come from alignment instead of fear. That's the alchemical shift. This is where the wound starts turning into medicine, right? The path of the wounded healer. This is where we begin living from the inside out. Morality will always reveal the exact place where our soul is trying to go. So follow it inward, not outward. Trust yourself. Next week, we'll be diving a little deeper into this topic, more into the alchemical side of this, the internal alchemy, what we need to be doing, some things we can be doing to start to process these things. But this is a good place for you to start thinking about your moral reactions, not to judge them, but to study them. Ask what value lives underneath the rules. If you feel shame, what desire is hiding there? If you feel righteous, what insecurity is hiding there? If you feel rigid, what fear is hiding there? So with that, wholeness,